Once upon a time, in a small town, there lived a young and kind-hearted maid named Maria. She had been working for a wealthy family, the Smiths, for several years. Mrs. Smith, in particular, was extremely demanding and cruel to Maria. Maria's day would begin at 5 a.m., when she would be woken up by Mrs. Smith's shrill voice, ordering her to start the laundry, clean the house, and prepare breakfast. Maria would work tirelessly throughout the day, but no matter how hard she tried, Mrs. Smith would always find fault in her work. One day, while Maria was cleaning the living room, Mrs. Smith stormed in, furious because Maria had not polished the furniture to her liking. She slapped Maria across the face, leaving her with a red mark and a throbbing headache. Despite the mistreatment, Maria continued to work for the Smiths, hoping that things would improve. However, the abuse only escalated. Mrs. Smith would often withhold Maria's salary, claiming that she had not done her job properly. She would also lock Maria in her small attic room, refusing to let her out until she had finished her chores. Maria's life was a never-ending cycle of drudgery and abuse. She felt trapped and helpless, with no way out. But one day, something changed. While cleaning the Smith's bedroom, Maria stumbled upon a hidden safe. Inside, she found a large sum of money and a letter addressed to her. The letter was from Mr. Smith, who had been secretly watching Maria's mistreatment at the hands of his wife. In the letter, Mr. Smith revealed that he had been planning to leave his wife and start a new life somewhere else. He had been saving money for years, and he wanted Maria to have it all. The letter ended with a message, "You are free, Maria. Take the money and start a new life. You deserve it." Maria was stunned. She couldn't believe that Mr. Smith had been watching out for her all along. She took the money and left the Smith's house without telling anyone, feeling a sense of freedom she had never known before. With the money, Maria started her own business, a small bakery that quickly became famous for its delicious pastries and cakes. She worked hard, but this time, it was for herself, and she was rewarded with success and happiness. Meanwhile, Mrs. Smith's life began to fall apart. Her husband left her, taking their children with him. She was left alone, with no one to turn to. She tried to start her own business, but it failed miserably. One day, Mrs. Smith found herself standing in front of Maria's bakery, begging for a job. Maria, who had become a successful and confident businesswoman, looked at Mrs. Smith with a mixture of pity and contempt. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Smith," Maria said, "but I don't think you would be a good fit for my bakery. You see, I only hire people who are kind and respectful to others. And I'm afraid you don't meet those qualifications." Mrs. Smith was stunned. She had never been spoken to like that before. She realized too late that she had mistreated Maria, and now she was paying the price. As Mrs. Smith walked away, defeated and humiliated, Maria smiled to herself. She had finally found justice, and she had found it on her own terms. She was free, and she was rich. And she knew that she would never let anyone mistreat her again.